There's a nice fountain up here. Is this a roundabout? Oh my god, it's a roundabout! Holy shit! Up ahead, ladies and gentlemen, is the rail roundabout. Rarely seen in the US, because Americans can't comprehend what roundabouts are. You don't know what the frack to do in roundabouts, when really, they're just circular freaking intersections. Hello, officer. They're really not that hard to drive in, but I don't know. You can tell how much I love this as a joke. How much faith do you have in people? Well, put it this way: I look both ways when I get into a roundabout. But ching. You get it? If you know how to drive, you understand. If you don't know how to drive, you're part of the problem. All right, so here's a fun list. Unsolicited, no one asked for this. My top 10 racing games that I like to play, that I like to go back to from time to time. We're gonna go from least to most often played, like based on frequency. You know, if it's number 10, I go back to it, but not super often. If it's number 1, I go back to it super often, and I play through it in its entirety, like usually when I do that. Great crossing. So let's start with number 10. At the number 10 slot in my gaming list, we've got Burnout 2001. The original Burnout, I believe it's the first Burnout ever made. I first got it as a kid on my Nintendo GameCube. I can't remember which Nintendo GameCube I had. I went through a couple of those things because the disc reader broke on at least 2 of them. But I had Burnout 2001 on Nintendo GameCube, and I thought that game was so much fun. And one of the reasons why it was so much fun was because it had couch multiplayer, split screen, top bottom split screen multiplayer. And I wish more games had that, but you know, people like to play multiplayer from machine to machine, and that guarantees, you know, more sales, I suppose. It's starting to rain a little bit. But yeah, Burnout 2001, a very simple game, no licensed cars, no free roam, but still a really fun kind of arcade style racing game, which I deeply enjoy. It's got kind of the crash physics. It's really entertaining. It's really funny. It's great to play with friends. I have it on my emulator, on my PC. I streamed it briefly. It's not a hard game to complete. There's not a whole lot to really do in it. It's very simple, but very fun. So if you're into classic games and all that sort of stuff, and you like, you know, using emulators or whatever, and you have a computer that can handle doing that, Burnout 2001 on the GameCube, a lot of fun. It was never on the PC, if I remember correctly. Burnout 2001 was never on the PC. Still a good game. Still a very good game. Is that a speed camera? I feel like in most parts of the US, when you see a speed camera, people want to shoot them out with a shotgun. But okay. We'll just go a little bit over the limit then. Up next in the number 9 slot, this will crack some of you guys up. It's Mario Kart Double Dash. Yes, I do play Mario Kart games. Not very often because they're usually super frustrating. But they're great for playing with friends, especially when your friends don't always like cars. So if you want to play with friends that like playing games together, but you know, you don't want to, they don't like car games per se, and car games have a different learning curve to Mario Kart, you can always do that, and that's lots of fun. I've had some of the best times with my friends playing Mario Kart, so I'm always going to like that over playing multiplayer with other friends, simply because it's got a better formula for entertainment when playing with your friends. Most racing games are better in single player, but, you know, unless if it's like Burnout or something, like I've said. This pickup truck is really... Okay, there you go. Okay. I was going the speed limit. Or was I? I don't know. Fuck if I know. The sign back there said 45, but my GPS says 55. I feel badly informed. Sorry, pickup truck driver. I feel like I'm in Need for Speed The Run right now. These are basically the roads that you race on. Let's play some Need for Speed The Run music. Oh shit. Woo! I had to turn. Just having a little fun driving right now. Woo! These roads are really fun. I'm on Germain Road, I think. This is kind of fun. I like driving on these sorts of roads. Oh, a little bouncy though. Looks like we're getting back to civilization. Okay, anyways. So Mario Kart Double Dash in the number 9 slot. In the number 8 slot, we've got Need for Speed, the first Need for Speed game, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. A game that I played early on in my childhood by myself, with friends. I believe Need for Speed had 2-player top-bottom split multi-screen couch multiplayer. Absolutely glorious. So much fun. So many good memories in that game. I played through the Hot Pursuit portion of it on my Twitch channel. That was vaguely frustrating, but still a fun experience. So, I'm sure many of you have played Hot Pursuit 2. It's one of the classic pre-Underground era Need for Speed games. It is a lot of fun. I'm really sorry about all the bounciness. There's a Tesla. What the hell is a Tesla doing out here? Where the hell would you even charge that thing? In the number 7 slot, and this might be a bit controversial because a lot of people think this is a stupid game, but I personally have good memories of it. Street Racing Syndicate. It's a obvious carbon copy of Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2, but I still like to go back and play it. I know that the devs could have made it better, but I think they were rushed or something, or the product wasn't in its final form when it was released. But Street Racing Syndicate, it's got an okay selection of cars. I like the atmosphere of it. I like the fact that it uses all licensed products on the car's aftermarket parts, including the body kits. So if you have an R34 GTR, you can give it, I dropped my phone, a C-West body kit. And the C-West body kit for the R34 GTR or the R34 chassis is my favorite. Like that I cannot deny that. What is this? St. Clair County Orchard Loop Trail, and I saw something that looked like a tour bus going by. What? St. Clair County. I've never heard of that. Okay, sure, fine. Looks like there's like an orchard or something to my left. But yeah, Street Racing Syndicate, SRS. It's a game I always come back to play. I did like an 11 episode playthrough of it on my channel, and of course I come back to it every now and then because it's vaguely replayable, and it's fun to build cars in that game. It's got a whole lot of classic 90s, early 2000s aftermarket parts in there, so it's always fun. In the number 6 slot, we've got Need for Speed Carbon. I'm sure a lot of you think I should have this higher up on my list, but Need for Speed Carbon is just not a game that I come back to super often, but it's still a game that I love. I love the atmosphere of it. I love that it introduced the concept of canyon duels and all that sort of stuff, and crews. I thought, the concepts in that game were really cool. It has a great selection of cars. The handling model and gameplay is great. The racing is, intense enough that you get into it. It's got a lot of things going for it. The soundtrack is awesome. I love the soundtrack in that game, especially the cutscene soundtrack, the canyon duel music. Soundtrack can really make or break a game, and that game has good, memorable soundtrack. And of course, Need for Speed Carbon had the Audi Le Mans Quattro, the concept car for the Audi R8. Basically, the Audi Le Mans Quattro was a 2003 concept car, and the first version of the Audi R8 that came out, I believe, was like 2008 or something. And the first production version of the Audi R8 had the V8s in it, but from 2003, the Audi Le Mans Quattro had a V10, and not just any V10, but a twin turbo V10, and it wasn't the 5.2 liter, it was the 5.0. It was it the uneven firing? I think it was the even firing. I'm getting that mixed up in my head. It was the classic Gallardo engine, the one that sounds, in my opinion, so much better. Imagine an Audi R8 with two turbos sounding like a classic Gallardo. How would that be? I love that. That's like a really tasteful, classy build that someone really should do. Someone should like go to Underground Racing and say, hey, here's like $100,000. I would like you to take my V10 R8, take out the 5.2, put in a classic Gallardo 5.0, put a couple turbos on it. Don't make it super fast. Just make sure it sounds good and is drivable, and then give it back to me. That would be a fun package, easily. I mean, the normal R8 is already a good package, but you know what I mean. Like, that's special, very special. Anyways, Need for Speed Carbon, very good game, number 6. In the number 5 slot, we're getting to games that I even more frequently come back to. We've got Forza Horizon 4. Forza Horizon 4 is a game I do really enjoy playing. It does have a different play style, though, different game type, sort of gameplay. The handling model is a little bit more difficult for me to get used to. I've tried playing the game with no assists, and I suck really bad. So I, unfortunately, to massive disgrace and shame, I have to have like traction control and ABS and all sorts of stuff, because I can't drive rear-wheel drive cars in that game without sucking horribly. But it's still a game I love to play. It's got a massive roster of cars to choose from, and as a result, it has ridiculously good replayability. So, yeah. I wish I could show you guys this, but behind me there is a Volkswagen Beetle, which is normally just an thing to say and point out, but it looks like it has the Herbie paint scheme on it with the stripe and the number. But anyways, Forza Horizon 4, very good game, so much fun. I'm looking forward to Forza Horizon 5, but I'm probably not going to pre-order it or anything like that, because I want to get a better idea of what to expect, because the only disappointing thing to me in Forza Horizon 4 is the map. I just don't like the map, and I hope they pick something better. I really hope they set their next game somewhere in Asia. Japan, please. I think that would be so cool, because I feel like a lot of people from my generation grew up playing racing games set in Japan with those iconic highways and the mountains and all that sort of stuff, and I've never played a video game with that. I can appreciate the iconicness of all that, but I never grew up with like Initial D. I never grew up with racing games that put me on those iconic video game highways. I just never did, so I don't have any memories with that. So I feel a little left out when people talk about that stuff. Like whenever people go to Japan and they go on that famous loop, I'm a little jealous, because I wish it would mean more to me, but I do still have a massive amount of respect for it, if that makes sense. Maybe respect isn't the right word. Appreciation. Up next in the number 4 slot, and this could be a little controversial, GTA Online or Grand Theft Auto 5, but mostly GTA Online. Not strictly a racing game, but it's got cars in it, and I come back to it very frequently. I think GTA Online is a lot of fun. I wish I had more friends to play with on it. I'm going to try and put together, by this video comes out, I probably will have a crew in GTA Online, and if you want to join me in that, you can. I know a lot of you really wanted to join my Need for Speed Heat crew, but Need for Speed Heat, in my opinion, is kind of dead. So I don't even really know how active my Heat crew is, because I don't go on there very often. Because it's a disappointing game. But GTA Online, another benefit is that There is no limit to how many members you can have in your crew. And for some reason, there's a limit in Need for Speed Heat, which I think is stupid. Because I think you should be able to have as many people as possible. Because otherwise, you have to start adding strangers to your friends list on. See there, I don't know if you saw that, the Herbie Jr. It says. I'm gonna get behind it. See, look at this, Herbie Jr. So anyways, GTA Online, it's a game I like to come back to, not just for the cars. I think the cars are cool. The only thing I don't like about the cars in that game is that they're not licensed. But I think the game makes up for that with all the other things you can do in it, like shoot people. That always feels good, right? Gonna get myself put on a list. Hello, Mustang. A lot of Mustangs in this country, which I guess makes sense. But yeah, GTA Online, definitely another one on the list. And given how often I come back to playing it, I think it deserves its slot in the number 4 slot. But then at number 3, especially more recently, this game has earned this slot. Need for Speed The Run. Kind of a 50-50 game. Some people liked it, some people hated it. I don't know why people hated it. I've loved it since the beginning. Need for Speed The Run. It basically encapsulates, is that a word? Captures the sort of driving that I think is the most fun in real life. Road trips, rallies. Need for Speed The Run just really captures that for me, and that's why I love it so much. Racing down American highways, country roads, racing through cities, covering huge amounts of distance, and not being stuck in just one place. I think that is super, super cool. And I know some of you are probably going to say, like, why don't you play the crew or this, that, and the other? I'm like, I'm not really drawn to the crew. But anyways, Need for Speed The Run, I really like. And it's from an era of automotive history, the 2011, 2010, 2012 era, where things were really starting to change for car culture, but haven't changed super massively yet. Because you got the Aventador in that game. That's a new kind of car. You've got, it has a Porsche 918 in it, but it's like a concept. It's like an RSR concept, which I think is kind of interesting. It's got the Koenigsegg Gira R in it, one of my favorite hypercars of all time. It's an important game that's based in an important time in history. The M3 E92 is in that game, specifically the GTS. All cool stuff. I love The Run. It's got great soundtrack. I know it's heavily scripted, so it's not really a racing game if you want to get super technical about it, but generally it can be considered a racing game. But yeah, Need for Speed The Run, I've been having a lot of fun playing that game on my Twitch channel. I think at this point Need for Speed The Run deserves to be in the number 3 slot, because I think that's a game I'm really going to come back to more often now. Oh look, Offenburg Ford. I really wanted a job at those dealers, but they never got back to me. Which is too bad. The interview went fine, then I guess HR didn't like something about me. Maybe it's because I put my YouTube channel on my resume, I don't know. Maybe that was a dumb idea. Since then I have taken the YouTube channel off my resume though. So hopefully, if that was a problem, it won't be anymore. Which is kind of annoying. But it would also make sense, and I think it's dumb that I didn't think of that. But someone suggested that I put it on there because it was super impressive. But I think that was also during the time when I was doing mostly Car Topics Explained videos. And I think right now with all the gaming videos on the front page, not a wise decision. So, totally my fault, but that might be what happened. There's a couple cops over there. In the number 2 slot, and this is going to surprise no one, we've got the legendary Need for Speed Underground 2. Childhood favorite. I've been playing it since, basically ever since it came out, and I still love it. I think the music, the sound, the look, the atmosphere, the whole thing is just one big jumble of nostalgia and fantastic gameplay. I love that game. I will never stop coming back to it. I can't wait to do another playthrough of it in Need for Speed Season 2, because by now when these videos come out, Need for Speed Season 1 will be over, and I will be taking a break from all that gaming, but I will at some point come back and do Need for Speed Season 2 and play through all of my favorite Need for Speed games with a little bit of a twist and some extra games in the list that I haven't played before and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Need for Speed Underground 2. It's got a good collection of cars, no crazy exotics. Well, there's only 2 muscle cars in it. And it's a lot of fun. There's no licensed like aftermarket parts for the exterior, so that's vaguely disappointing, but you get over that really fast. I get caught up in the atmosphere of like the music and stuff, the look of the game, going through all the different areas of the cities, the zones, the mountains, the coastal areas. It's just, it brings back, it's childhood memories for me. I never played Underground 1. I started with Underground 2, which I know is kind of weird, and it doesn't matter to me, really. Underground 2, though, for me, will always be the most nostalgic racing game I can play. Easily the most nostalgic. But then, no surprise here, we've got, in the number 1 slot, Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005, of course. Where else would it be on this list? You guys are probably thinking, where is Most Wanted? Why is it not on this list? Oh, it's on this list. It's at the number 1 slot, and for good reason. It's not the most nostalgic game in the world for me, but it will always be the game I come back to the most. It's not set in a particularly interesting time in terms of automotive history. You know, its car selection isn't fantastic, but the gameplay, the pursuits, the races, the concept, the length, the story, it's all, in my opinion, a perfect, it's got the perfect ratio of story, gameplay, pursuit, racing, customization. It's all perfect. It's the perfect racing game to come back to, in my opinion. Most Wanted 2005. It's also the game that, of course, introduced me to the M3 GTR, which is another reason why it has a very special place in my heart. You know, the E46 M3 and the GTR version, they're my dream car. They're still at the number 1 slot of cars I want to buy and build. That's never going to change. It's been 15 years since that game has come out, and still the M3 E46 is at the top. So you can believe me when I tell you that I'm going to buy an E46 M3, and no one is going to stop me. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 is just, it's one of those games that I can continue to keep replaying for the rest of my life. And eventually, when cars become less interesting to film, eventually my channel is just going to be special because, I'm only driving around gas cars. It's going to be like daily driven exotics, where you daily drive exotics so much as you daily drive internal combustion engine cars. That'll be daily driven gas cars or whatever. I don't know. I don't know, man. That sounds terrible. Daily driven gas. Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005. Absolutely just the number 1. Always will come back to that. I always love recording videos in that game. I even loved playing it with my friends in middle school. Fun fact, this is going to be a long video. Long episode of the Commute. In middle school, I found a way to play using like a cider port or whatever, or like some kind of wrapper. I got Need for Speed Most Wanted to work on the Mac OS on our crummy little laptops. And so me and my friends would play Need for Speed Most Wanted in middle school in 9th grade all the time, usually during class, especially during like our tech classes, because those classes were horrible.